So to start us off, we're here with JJ Mikolash. He's going by JJ today. It's Jordan.
Either or. Again, JJ is what I'm known in the football community. So that's a good way. It's a good way to bring us out today.
I'm realizing I have an uncle JJ too, so it's
it's actually
we got family.
My middle
here,
name
basically.
starts with a J, so I could be JJ as well.
There you go.
Ooh, we got double JJ on the
got double
podcast.
JJs.
A lot of J's.
Double your
That's
J's, double
that's
the
J
fun.
squared, actually.
J squared.
Or is it cubed?
I guess
I don't know.
I don't know. Don't ask me math
Not
questions.
me either. No.
Well, I think we found your rap duo name.
Perfect.
Just throwing that out there. If you want to come out with the album.
I mean, I do have my hot takes book of quick ad libs of rap in my phone if we need to get to that. So
there we go.
No
If we
worries.
freestyle at some point today, probably viewers, listeners, don't be surprised because it might happen.
No worries.
It definitely happened yesterday at a certain point. I don't know if you were still there. But anyways, we're here, and he's from the Winnipeg Football Collective. What's your official role with the Winnipeg Football Collective?
It's a great question. So technically, the Winnipeg Football Collective is just that. It's a collective community. So we have 5 members on the board, none of which have a higher seat than others. It's about making decisions based off of feedback from the actual teams and players itself. And then we take that info and we kind of I'll take it to heart and negotiate and talk it amongst ourselves. So you could call me a board member, but I'm also, if you want to know, I'm also the hype man for social media. So please do follow us, and I am plugging right now. So we have Winnipeg Football Collective both on Twitter and Instagram. We're trying to do, and we tried to change things up, and that was a big thing for our community and our followers. Where, you know what, we enjoy the game, but how do we take it to the next level? Well, Riley, not everybody like you and I got the chance to play high school football or, CJFL or CIS or what's now known as, I guess, U Sports. But at the end of the day, people actually care about their statistics. They care about, highlight reels. They care about, hey, like I made this sick play. And you know what? We have guys filming from the benches, sending in highlights. We have fans up in the stands filming their, whether it be their significant other or their, or their child or whatever. And so they're sending that to us, and we're able to post it. So that was a big thing. So I'm also the social admin hype man. So you can see interviews there as well. So after game interviews with me and some of the guys that have a great night on either Friday or Saturday night. And as one of my idols, Deion Sanders, says, "You ball, you get the call." So
Nice.
that's what we kind of based it off of. And again, awesome feedback from everybody, and everybody kind of likes to get their tires pumped just a little bit. So.
Yeah, the collective seems to be this new idea around touch football in terms of bringing in those social elements of social media, and then also you have the people that are involved, but they're involved in the process of making the league. I know that you do league meetings at different points, and you really want to get opinions of the players and making sure it's sort of a player-driven league that they're getting the best experience possible.
And that's exactly right, Riley. So the one thing that took us apart just within our first year, and just so you guys know, we're coming up on year number 4 now, so it's really awesome. And what we brought was the first ever touch football, basically players only meeting, if you'd like to call it that. So open forum where everybody was invited to. We actually hosted at an Underdog, so nice St. James location. Again, great grub there. Extra plug for you guys. Good for you. So
I may have worked there.
And I was going to say, and Riley definitely did, ironically. But other than that, we held it there, and a lot of people had a lot of good questions, a lot of good feedback. And we took that, and we actually did, in some cases, not alter a bunch of rules or things like that, but we made some pretty significant changes, and it gives people the open forum. So, like, we're just starting our first weekend of the next indoor session next weekend, and we've already spoken with all the team captains that have registered to gather schedule requests, to gather, intel on, hey, how do you guys feel you'll play in which division? We have 4 divisions plus a co-ed one right now. So, how do you think your team's going to fare? And then, again, it's all about coming together as a community. And that was the big, when I first heard about your podcast, and the name of it was Be the Change. And I was like, that's exactly what the collective is doing. And that's exactly what they're trying to do, and we're trying to do. And thankfully, we're being very successful right now. So,
yeah, and you've brought up there's different pillars to it. So how does this work in the community? Like, who are the members that can play? I know that you said like co-ed, so genders, and then ages too. So I know that you're trying to develop especially amateur programming too, and ways that we can increase football talent sort of at the grassroots level, but then also into people's adulthood so that they can pursue it too.
Yeah, so I mean, if we just start at the basic, if you want to call it beer league recreational, like I mean, anywhere from we say kind of 14, 15 and above, and I do say 14, 15 very carefully because there are some ballers out there that are young and can play, but at the same time, there's guys there that are, nice in Spartan race stature like yourself. So, and although it'd be touch football, people run into people, accidents happen, things like that. So, at the end of the day, we actually are going to be, for the first time, having an all junior varsity team sign up this season to practice. So, that's the whole key, is to continue playing all year. And I mean, we've played in a couple snow bowls, and we know what that's like. But in December, when there's no fields and no, refs and all these things, A, you don't want to play outside. But B, now you can stay, the QBs especially, because it is, of course, only passing. So with that, QBs and receivers can stay on point all year. That doesn't break any rules with any Winnipeg high school regulations or anything like that. That's just kids going out on their own time, on their own dime, and practicing and getting free games. So, that's just awesome for the high school programs. But the big thing that we're really proud of is we just started this summer the Collective Sevens with Keto Pobla and Finish First Football. So that's about developing the younger kids. And what I'm talking anywhere from 8, 9, all the way up to 14. So before they hit high school, before they do all that. And the reason is because we're trying to grow football here. We are a hockey country.
Yeah.
That is what we are. Basketball has been taking a little bit of an up, but that's more on the east, eastern, like in Toronto. A lot of great Canadian basketball players right now. But here in Winnipeg, we've probably noticed a big increase over the last 5 or so years. But think about, and I hate to say this out loud, Riley, 10 years ago when we last played high school football.
Isn't that so weird to think that it's been 10 years since we were playing high school?
It really is. And so to think about that, to think of where that league is now and how many teams are pumped out of that, and the more divisions get added, the more teams get added, it's awesome. And we just kind of want to never stop. And there's those guys that aren't going to get the chance to go play CJFL, aren't going to get the chance to go play U Sports, but they don't want to put down the rock. I don't blame them. It's a lot of fun. And especially if you can get your buddies together, it's an hour of your time on the weekend to go play some football. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that want to do that. And I actually know for a fact that there is. So,
yeah. So what led you towards touch football in itself? Obviously playing high school football, but then what gravitated you towards that after playing high school?
Well, for me, I'm going to say, and a little bit embarrassing, but my grade 12 year was cut pretty short, and I kind of lost out on my senior year, and that was a big hurt for me and a tough pill to swallow. So I still had the itch to play football, but I was like, I'm not going to go. I told myself I wasn't good enough to play junior or U Sports, and truthfully, I believe I still wasn't. But at the end of the day, I was at a wedding social for a close family friend of mine, and he had started playing with his brothers and his couple buddies, and he just said, hey, we can't find a quarterback, and we know that you played in high school. Can you just come out for a couple games and just finish off our season? And I was like, yeah. And showed up for the first time at U of M, and 18-year-old me was hooked, and it was over after that. So next season, I started my own team with all my buddies and a couple of their guys that we kind of kept that core. And then as all they kind of phased out, we just kept bringing in more of our own, and well, here we are, 10 years later, still playing. So
that's super cool. Yeah, that happens. That's how they get you too. Is come out for a game or two. Well, we need a sub, and that's how.
And you know what? If you talk to Neil McKernan, that's on the board. If you talk to Neil Smalley, that's on the board. Those two exactly same route as me. Came out for random games from friends that asked for subs, and instantly hooked. Neil actually it's funny because he joined his team now, which is Polk High. Was started by another gentleman, and that's the one he joined, and then eventually he left and Neil took over there. So that's kind of funny. And then, yes, Neil Smalley, Cam Penner, who I know you actually played some rifles with him, if I'm not mistaken. Same thing, brought in for a random game. He's crushing it for the Mustangs or the Rifles, and then he's like, "What? I can get to do this without getting hit? Sweet." So, and man, that guy, he was. So again, all of us get into it like that. That's how I find it's very rare that somebody says, "Hey, there's a league. Let's put in a team." It's usually somebody gets introduced, and then they slowly start in and phase in their own guys. So, and girls. And let me tell you, there's some girl ballers here in Manitoba, and it's fun to watch. So.
Yeah, we even in high school we had females on our tackle football team, and it seems to be growing. It's a bigger and bigger trend all the time. There's women's football league, and I believe at one point, I don't know if they're still doing it, but women's touch football. But there's obviously it's cool to see how the sport is developing in all these different pillars and all these different ways. And I think that it's really effective. So a lot of people, I think you talked about it as part of your story, but there's a point where you sort of, if you're willing to be self-critical, there's a point you can get to. And my goal with football was always to make it as far as my talent would take me. I wanted to reach the peak of my talent. And I felt that I did it, and then I still didn't really get an opportunity beyond that. And that was playing on the Bisons and having 3 future CFLers in front of me at my position. So I was in tough. I competed, but I was in tough to get a share of the reps or even get an opportunity. And you don't know. There's so many things that play into that. It happens to be chance that we really had good players at that time. Maybe if I was there 4 years later, 4 years earlier, it's you don't get to choose certain things. But then there's that time. Well, that's when I decided to go back, played junior football for my last year, and I had fun doing that, traveled, played, enjoyed the experience with the guys again, but knew it was sort of, when it was done, that season was finished, I don't really want to walk back into that situation. I'm really close to finishing my degree, so if I just realized that there was a next stage to life, and it was time to do that. And I actually didn't consider touch football for a long time. I sort of went oh, this is over. I'm going to coach because I want to give back and give that.
And I don't mean to interject here,
Yeah.
but I actually notice that a lot with the tackle guys, where after they've done their diligence with the Bisons or the Rifles or whatever program they're playing for, I find they like to take a little bit of a hiatus before they come back. But then it gets to the point where they're like, man, I just want to do it just a little bit more. And that's when they come back, and that's when they stay, and that's when they play till they're 45, 50, 55. And we've got, one of the greatest QBs in probably Manitoba touch football history, and Tim Shea, still slinging the rock right now. He's early 60s, wow. And he's actually in the Touch Football Hall of Fame, and he's still killing it. So, and one of my former coaches as well. So, but it's, again, just to rewind another second, it's funny you mentioned the CFLers ahead of you, because the reason that my grade 12 year was cut short is there's a gentleman by the name of Nick Dembski on that team. That
he might have been one of those 3.
He might have been one of those 3, and he is actually a friend of mine to this day, and I of course now wish him all the best with the Bombers. I was cheering for him in that green color, but it was really tough. So, but again, that's I can relate to that for sure, and I think that probably played a big part in me not wanting to stop playing football, because I wanted to prove that I could actually do something. So.
Well, it's finding that competitive drive again, because I think the guys that play, doesn't matter what level you're at and what level you get to, it's just you hit those points. When it's over, you still have that competitive drive, but if you don't have something somewhere to put that energy, then it's kind of tough to you go, well, how am I developing? How am I doing these things? And then, so touch football, kind of circle back, finding touch football and going out for a couple games. I was playing low division, and it was okay, but I'm playing football again. And it didn't matter that I was one of the better players on a low division team. It was fun to play football and run around and have the social aspect, go out for drinks after the game. And so it's great that that's developing. And then, but it also hit a point, I guess this is more a personal story, but now it's hit a point where I want to be competitive again and find a new drive and stuff too. And I think that that's fine, but it gives that place, touch football gives that place for people to find that and to continue on and just to enjoy what they enjoy at that moment. So it's cool to see that that's how things are developing.
No, and you know what? That's like from being friends with you for a while. I've noticed that that's your, those are your races now, right? Like that's what you work for. That's your competitive thing. And all the best to you. I always wish you luck when I see you doing them. So, but you're right. People, and especially like we have the most, and I'm going to get close to the mic for this, the most elite Division I in the province, and those guys on all of those teams are phenomenal. And this province, like, I mean, we went to a bunch of teams went to nationals this year. It was held in Edmonton, and they all, made the province proud. Wow, and nice. They all do well. And Division I is where everybody wants to be. But you know what? As a guy that once played Division 15, it's a lot of fun down there too. So it's and that's what the collective is. Do you want to be Division? Do you want to be Division I? Do you want to be up there, grinding, not knowing, how every game is going to go? It literally is super competitive. Nobody blows anybody out. It is awesome. Or are you one of the newer teams that are trying to work your way up, just maybe trying to have some fun and, get the boys, girls together, whatever it is, and, play some football? We have it for everybody. And then again, you just to circle back, you had mentioned women's touch football. We actually did merge and take over the women's touch football league. They did not run this summer, but the teams are. I'm blown away every time I watch because, we're just girls can play, and I say that as politely and as forward thinking as possible because they're just they're great in my opinion. So. It's nice to see everybody playing, and it's nice to see husband and wives playing together. It's interesting to see siblings play together. And from the All Brothers team, we were just at Scotty's place last night. But the Nayok's brothers, they have a team going, and they're gonna be great, and they already are in my opinion. But they're gonna be better in even a couple years. So as you progress, as you get up, it's just a great time.
What else do you have going on in life? I know, like, career-wise, you're doing things, you're pursuing things. Like, what's all of JJ as opposed to just the football side?
Well, I'm very, very happy you asked. So, actually, just a couple days ago on October 26th, I celebrated my third year as an insurance broker. So
nice.
That's my
congratulations.
Appreciate that, Jayse. Thank you so much. Yeah, right now I'm just trying to build up clientele. Trying to build a Malacca business. Be a reputable broker for all of my clients and friends and family. So, like I said, third year as of October 26th. So, ever have any questions regarding life, critical illness, or disability, please let me know. But again, no, that is all segues aside. That's what I do for work. But personally, have a wonderful girlfriend that we're coming up on our anniversary right away. Going to Florida for Christmas, things like that. So gonna be super exciting. Have a 6-month-old cat that I know you like because everybody likes him. It's, soon to have more Instagram followers than me and my girlfriend combined. So he's awesome, and I'm very lucky. I have I still got my mom and my dad here in the city. I have my grandparents really close by, and I'm super close to them. My little sister is just turned 21, so she's she's still kicking around also. And I'm a very family oriented guy. And one thing that I will say is they actually come to a lot of touch football games. So it's I said it when I was 6, and so I'm 27 now, so I still say it now, but. Part of me plays better when the family shows up. So, but yeah, so insurance broker in the working world, working for myself in Hub International. Living and just bought our first place in St. James, so been living there, and family, everything. Christmas trip, that's recently, but I mean that's kind of my life currently in a nutshell, and. That's really it. It's awesome. Super basic, but at the same time,
living the dream.
That's what I mean. Like I have no complaints. I am I'm very content with pretty much all aspects of my life. So yeah,
that stability and that community are so important to just all aspects of life, honestly, whether it's going through, and again, I know we're sort of on a different topic, but talking about, like, even it doesn't matter if it's your football career or it's life. It's like when you have those pillars and those people and that community and everything's aligned and you have that stability, life is good. I know that there's actually been times where football has been a negative thing in my life, where it took over my entire, I became obsessed. I became obsessed with pushing myself to be better, but it took away from all these other aspects and it became a detrimental thing. And part of it felt like it required that a little bit, but I look at life now, and similarly, it's actually something I read in Stephen King's On Writing, and he actually talked about how he put his desk in his room. So his desk used to be in the middle of his study or his place of writing, and now he puts it purposely on the side. And it's, at one point, it was the complete focus of his life, and now it's part of his life. So it's all the other things and all the other elements of life that lead to that writing, and it's a great output. And I think similarly, it's great to have, it's like football is that outlet, but then there's also those other elements of life that you have to appreciate. I mean, you get to that point, and I think part of that's going through those different life stages too, because as a teenager, you can be a little bit rebellious, you have those aggressive energies. And I think of another example. I've been watching Big Mouth a lot lately, but you have the hormone and the hormone monsters and things.
Don't make me do those impersonations. Like, I can nail those.
All right.
We'll have to at some
Yeah, no
point.
kidding.
I was gonna say that's a great show. So
Yeah.
shout out to Nick Kroll, genius.
He is
So,
a creative genius in a sense. So it's great to have, like, it's great to have that outlet going through that point, and who knows how it could have been different. But it's nice when you get to a point in life where you're appreciative of those things, like whether it's parents and realizing all those sacrifices, all those things that they've done for you, and then you get to build life too. You get to have a cat and a girlfriend and yeah.
Life is about balance, and it's about finding. And the funny thing is being, and again, circling back to touch football, my team, our team, the Warriors, which you have played on a few times as well. We had a rough go this outdoor season, and it took a toll on me just because we couldn't get guys out. We had a few bodies every time, and when nobody was having fun. And I came home and I was like, you know what, like this doesn't affect me every day, but because part of my balance is enjoying my one game a week of touch football. And I knew that every time we had a game coming up, I actually wasn't looking forward to it because it was tough. And when it comes to balance, I need that. I need to throw that 1 or 5 or 7 touchdown passes. Like, I need it. I absolutely need it. And it's part of my balance. And if I don't, let's just take the gym. If I don't go to the gym, I feel the same way as if I don't throw a touchdown pass. If I ever played hooky from work, or which I've never done, again, it's just your balance is thrown off, and that's the whole thing. Is for you got work, you got the podcast, you got your outside activities, it's all about finding the balance, and that's just you're totally right. And my balance right now, although be it I'm not very balanced, good in actual standing, but in life, my balance is awesome. So
well, it's defining that, and it's finding what that means to you in a sense. And yeah, that's been in this past year. I've talked about vision board before, but it's finding whatever those elements that are going to make you feel fulfilled or balanced in that sense. And all of a sudden, I'd had the goal to do a Spartan race couple of years ago, and there was supposed to be one here, and then they ended up canceling, which was just kind of heartbreaking because it was that thing to train towards. As soon as you have that date on the calendar, something to head towards, then you start to train for it, you start to prepare yourself, and knowing, and it honestly, in a little bit of a good way, the first race I ever did was this year in Red Deer, and I signed up way in advance, and it gave me a ton of time, and I went, well, I'm going to have to. And I decided not to do the shortest version. I did the mid-length version because it would be a challenge, and it would force me to get out and get outside my comfort zone. So train, start running, start doing these things.
And nothing good ever comes from there. So,
Well, staying in the comfort zone.
Correct.
Yeah, because there is that element. It's funny to talk about balance, but then growth is part of that balance. Like you want to feel that you're adequately challenged, and you can find that in all sorts of different things. I know that in touch football, I've played on teams. I think it speaks to the different divisions, and you have to sort of play where you're at if you're interested in it, because I was playing on a hyper competitive team and it took the fun away from it a little bit. And I think that has to do a little bit with the culture of teams and people and things too. You almost have to find, that's what's fun about creating a touch football team, is that you can bring the people that you want into that team. And so when you find your fit of the guys that you want to spend that hour a week or whatever, and then likely, well, I mean, to me, the best case scenario is you do that and then you have a couple beverages after. But I mean, not everybody has to do that. You can find your own way of doing it. Some people are fine with, just going to the game and that's their competitive thing and they want to be all in on that. Some people do it for the social element. Some people do it to see those highlights on social media the next day. Some people do it for trophies and glory. And it's fine. It's fine. Whatever drives you, whatever motivates you, I think is it's a good thing, and you should follow that.
Oh, and you hit the nail right on the head there, Riley. You got to play with the level you're ready for, because I've had guys, you say, oh, I'm ready to play, Division 2, Division 1, and then, hey, you know what? Sure. But, some bite off a little bit more than they can chew. They don't have a great time, and that ruins their experience for them. Whereas, maybe they started a little bit lower, tried out and, figured some things out and worked their way up. That's how it was for us. Like I said, Division 15, and now I'm playing Division 1. So it takes some time, and it takes some effort, but you're totally right. You got to play with guys you want to play with, or play with the bodies you want to play with. 2 is you got to play the level you're ready for, because as a guy that's been through it, you'll have a bad time. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is we want everybody to come out and we want everybody to have a great time. And you know what? I think the coolest thing is we played at the U of W, and the beautiful, beautiful recplex there now. But with that, there is no lounge or anything there. But what we find is they don't care. The teams will, they're either all from Charleswood, all from Osborne, all from wherever. That's what they're going to go after, and they're not going to separate. Both my teams, I laugh because we get together with one of our teams, and the other one, we just kind of peace out as soon as it's done. And that's it, come in, do our job, do our business. Okay, boys, see you next week. So, yeah. And you're right, it's awesome because we'll get photos and, stuff sent at like 3:30, 4 in the morning from the guys just drinking, they've been since their game that ended at 11. And they're like, hey, we're still partying. And it's like, that's what we like to see, boys. We'll see you next weekend. So, but no, it's so much camaraderie. And, we've had a couple teams that started off with us and have stuck with us the entire time. Not only have they improved immensely, but they're super tight. And that's what, again, the word we use, and you can see it on all of our social medias, is community, collective community. And that's what people feel like when they're playing. And we want more people to feel like that. The other thing is, and I think the biggest factors are going to be that nobody on the board makes any money from sitting on the board. Nobody gets any statistical positional advantages or anything from sitting on the board. The other best part is if there's a team captain that says, I want to be on the board, absolutely. It's open. Now, of course, that means we get to 20 board members. It is what it is. Yeah. But it's open to everybody. And if anybody wants to attend the league meetings that we have, it's always open. And everybody knows this. We've gotten to the point now where the captains believe that we're going to do what's best for all the teams. And they don't feel the need to show up. And that's fair. But they know that if they want to be there for our monthly meeting or whatever it is, they can go.
That's great
problem.
That you guys have that kind of sense of trust and transparency among the entire community.
And that's
super important.
Total transparency. And the other thing is we don't want people to feel like they're there, just because they're a monopoly and they're in a league where we're making tons and tons of, cash and all this stuff. And that's not it at all. the biggest advantage to the collective is the bigger we get, the cheaper it's actually going to be for everybody.
Very
because
true. Yeah.
the more teams that we get, the more that we can give back. And that's the whole point of the collective, is to give back. We want to give out different, right now I'm rocking my championship t-shirt from a couple years ago. We have t-shirts, we got championship backpacks. We have a bunch of ideas. We're trying to give out more swag and things like that.
That's awesome.
And again, the bigger we get, the faster we can do this stuff. And that's why I'm very thankful that you guys let me on here today, because the board and I are extremely, extremely passionate and put a lot of hard work and effort into growing touch football here in Manitoba, and we don't want to stop. And had I not come on this podcast, nothing would have changed. But it's just awesome, because now we want people to listen to this. We want those parents to hear this, to say like, hey, my kid has a way to play football now. The collective sevens, whether they're getting a little bit older, they can join up some teams. Working on free agent teams. So there's a bunch of random people that don't have that team, can't get their bodies together, but maybe they can get 2 or 3, and somebody else can get 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on factions like that, and we just think that now, although be it by the time this releases, we will have all of our teams already signed up, and registered. But our next season is going to be starting the weekend after the Super Bowl, and we've already actually pre-registered a couple brand new teams. So we're very excited about bringing them over, and them joining the collective and hopefully staying for a long time. But that's the other big thing, is we want people to know that, hey, from now till February, if you can get a team together, or you have questions, or you want to do some homework, please do let us know. And our website is Winnipeg Football, if you will. It's actually changed a couple of times. So what I'm going to say is, if you go on Google and just type in Winnipeg Football Collective, we are going to be the first option that shows up. All of the info you guys need to know to contact one of our board members is on there. So the league admin email that gets sent, so if you have any questions regarding registration, players, teams, costs, things like that, that's where you're going to reach out to us. Of course, you can also slide into our DMs. That does happen. That does happen.
Accept the slide.
We do accept DM slides, Twitter direct messages, whatever. So we just want to connect with as many people as possible, and the board and I thank you guys for letting myself come on and talk about it.
Yeah, so it's great to have that open and authentic culture that you guys have created with the football collective, like being able to be open with ideas, and even open to having people on those boards, and letting people structure it, and really just giving people a say in it. Because there's different ways to come at the same thing, but it's like the best things happen when you allow that forum of just being yourself, and letting people come up with letting people help form that thing. Because if it's all one person, if it's all like singular ideas, and you're not open to those other things, and sometimes there's that figuring out exactly what the best thing is to develop it for the future. Like, I think of this podcast, and somebody said, "Oh, it's long." And I was like, no, it's not. And you instantly
Yeah.
become defensive, because
Of
you're
course.
like, I'm just being authentic and having these conversations and doing me in a sense. But then it's, oh yeah, there is a viewer in this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, because there's different elements of it. There's the conversation that you're having. There's the person in the room. There's trying to tell their story. But then there's the person on the other side of the camera watching and interacting with that. So there's different elements to it. There's different parts of the wheel, in a sense, and so it's. I want to relive the glory days, because I've thought of it a couple times. But 10 years ago, we played in a AAA championship football game,
Which they won.
which we won.
That they did.
And yet the coolest thing, I look back, and it almost seems it makes more sense now than ever before. We lost in the semifinal of my grade 11 year, and we had somebody come in at halftime, I won't name names, but flipped a table at halftime and was really aggressive and kind of angry, and it was just, that wasn't the feel of our team. That we didn't need the person to come in and just rage and be angry. It was like we were kind of the team that just let loose. I want to say shoot the shit. And we're a loose team. That's who we were, and we like to make those jokes, and that was who we were. And so flash forward, that game, going into the championship game, we had people horsing around and making fun of the one kid. And I'm not saying don't bully kids. It's not a good thing.
Don't.
But at the same time, it loosened people up, and it created the right atmosphere that allowed us to go out on the field. And when we got scored on, we were down 7 points after 2 plays. And then we went out and scored on our first play and tied it 7-7. And then we went down 16-7. We let 3 straight field goals and a couple of fumbled footballs. But then we battled back and we ended up winning that game, which it's one of those, if we didn't have that loose atmosphere, if we turned on each other, then we wouldn't have ever achieved that. It's cool in the same way to like build a successful enterprise or a successful business or a successful league, touch football league. You need to have those right elements at play. And so if you're closed off to the world and it's only this one, you're seeing through this one lens, then it's really tough to create something that's impactful and that's really doing what you're trying to. And so it's great to see that that's accomplishing it. And I hope that this podcast is, and there's all those other elements and like that team did, but that culture is so important. And you seem to be, and there's the different archetypes in a sense at play that create those great connections between people. And so you very much seem to be the voice, at the very least, like the social media and the sharing.
The hype man.
The hype man. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah, so no, and that's, yeah, you know what? And you guys gave me a very nice compliment early on about how I had a radio voice, but radio and broadcasting and all that stuff was an actually early passion of mine, and I just thought, you know what, like we need to get this beast and we need to get this snowball rolling. So if I'm all in, I might as well be all in. And I'm actually once you guys, because I know you guys are both going to follow the account now anyway after we're all done. But I'm very, very, very cool because Milt Stiegel has actually given us a segue from playing in his tournament in May. So expect some Milt on some videos too, which is gonna be awesome. So everybody loves a good Milt Stiegel. So
I mean, he's basically Winnipeg royalty.
Yeah.
There's not too many people now that make me nervous when meeting, and he was one of the guys that. I mean, I shook his hand. I'm pretty sure I shook his hand. I said hi and talked to him when we were at the.
So nervous he
Grey
couldn't
Cup
remember.
But that was my hero. That was the guy from when I was going to games when I was really young to, and just so notable. And he was there. Charles Roberts was a little bit of that guy, but it was always Milt just the hardworking and the personality.
My first football memory that I never forgot was that 100-yard TD pass from Kevin Glenn in the dying second. How can you not? Like, how can that play made me want to play football? And I told him that when I met him in May. And what a guy. He's, he knows how good he is. He's like almost 50 and he's still unbelievable and super humble, super suave and confident at the same time. It's a fine line to walk, and that gentleman does it very well. So
yeah. So where did that develop? That ability to communicate, and where does that come from? Because is it innately? I like to think of this in terms of my own life too, because I've always had this. People might say like gift for gab. I wouldn't say it. It's just like it's fun to have conversations, and especially meaningful conversations. But where does that confidence come from? Is it a natural thing, or do you have to kind of build it too?
You know what? I'm very lucky. I will have to say for myself, it is natural. I just enjoy talking, and I just enjoy talking to people. My secret pleasure, my guilty pleasure, is public speaking. Tell me one other person that has that. Hey, it's not a thing. So with that being said, I was just, and actually I was talking about this yesterday, all things, but when I was young and I could first talk, my grandparents would not do anything for me. Like I had to, so if we went to go get ice cream, I had to order, and I had to say, if we went on the bus, I had to put the change in the machine. If we went grocery shopping and they asked, do you want plastic or paper bags, I had to be the one to answer. So they just bred me very, very early on to be the guy that responds, because you shouldn't be scared to ask, and you shouldn't be scared to, to want or, just speak.
Yeah.
That's what is that? What else is this for?
Yeah.
So, and I'm very lucky that they made me do that. But I honestly, like, I mean, I will talk to anybody anytime. And I feel really bad when I go try to do interviews with some people after the game, and I'm going to say that 95% of them are down to do it. But that one or two people, there's no spotlight, no camera, please don't talk to me. Like, I'm just in it. I respect that, and I understand that. But I'm not that way. So, and you mentioned Joe Rogan. One of my podcast influentials, if you want to call this, Pat McAfee. I'm a huge Colts fan, so that kind of built into it. But man, that guy is hilarious. And I was actually listening to him on the way here just to kind of get some practice and listen and see how things were going. So
Nice.
yeah, of course, gotta study. So game film, right? So, but it's just something that I've always enjoyed. And I mean, if I had a podcast platform, I would have been all over that too. So, and I see a lot of similarities with both, with you and I. And, but yeah, I'm very lucky. This is what I am very comfortable doing. And I don't know anybody else. Like, I don't know very many other people that are as comfortable with
Do you ever see yourself maybe getting into radio or podcasting in the future, even if it's with the Winnipeg Football Collective or otherwise?
That would be pretty sweet. And you know what? I would definitely be open to something like that for sure. I mean, when I was coming out of school, I actually debated going into like a TV radio program through the Red River. They have a 2-year, I believe, a 2-year program. Awesome. I actually have a couple friends that went through it. I actually got kind of scared about it when I was 18 because a lot of people were telling me, if you want to do this, it's a lot of, all these. And then being an 18-year-old kid, I just listened to whatever people tell me, right? So if it came down to it now, and I guess just the one thing is as well as I speak, I guess the one thing I lack in is I wouldn't know what to talk about. I would just, I'm a great guest. I just don't, I haven't been, and I'm a great host for interviews, but never done that. So, but would I be open to it? Absolutely.
I did want to get a little bit more of your story out too, and I wanted to know some of the things that you've either struggled with or like something that you've had to overcome.
All right. Well, I would say a couple things that stand out to me. The one thing that I would say, if we're going to talk from an athletic standpoint, is going to be losing my senior year. That is, 10 years later, I mean, I'm content and I'm over it now. But at the same time, that one hurt deep because you got a championship in your grade 12 year. That's something nobody can ever take away from you. And congratulations to you.
Thank you.
But my grade 12 year was gone. And that's, to me, all I was told was, can't run, you're slow, which I am, which is fair. You can't throw more than, X amount of yards. You don't have a strong arm. You don't have good all these things. And that's just all I hear. And so when I was 18 through 22, I was obsessed with becoming a great touch football quarterback because that is all I had. And I've set a bunch of records. I've I've won a bunch of championships, but that's just touch football. But that drive, and if I would have had my grade 12 year, I probably would have taken that hiatus that I told you about. Where it's like, hey, I didn't want to go play touch football right away, and I don't blame you. Like, that was a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of your life, traveling, practicing, playing. I just lost out on it, and I didn't want to lose out on it anymore. Also, I just caught the football bug because I started playing, in grade 9. So from grade 9 I wasn't done yet. I had so much more left in me. But I would say that the biggest struggle I've ever had to overcome, and here's the thing, is I would say that the biggest struggle I ever overcame was the one time that I moved out from my house. So my mom and I had a little bit of a kerfuffle. We're going to just use that polite podcast word. And I got the boot, and that's fair. And I didn't talk to my mom for a while. I had to live in my buddy's basement, and it was not what I was used to living in, and it was not the condition or the area I was used to. And I had to, I had to grow up quick, and I had to build myself up quick. And I went into large amount of debt, to make sure to pay for things and make sure I didn't, not pay, or, still working, still paying for all the other stuff. It was just a huge culture shock. But that was like my swift kick in the ass, and was what got me into gear and got me grinding and got my work ethic back. Because honestly, from 19 through 23, 24, I was just a kid living at home, paying basic rent that made bank selling cell phones. And I was a little bit ignorant, and I didn't really know what it was. I thought I had kind of made it. And I was like, now I'm looking back, 5 years later, I'm like, oh boy, kid, you have no idea. Yeah. So, but that was a tough pill for me to swallow, because I love my mama. I'm a mama's boy. So that was a tough period for me. And I mean, her and I are tighter than ever. And, yeah, that was, for me, that was probably my biggest one. And then the other one that I kind of just popped into my head is I did lose my sister for a while. And that sounds kind of weird to say. But I don't have any full siblings. So my mom got remarried, had my little sister. It's technically my half-sister, would never call her that. They then ended up separating. And basically my sister, if you want to call it child alienation, kidnapped, whatever you want to call it. And so I didn't get to talk to or see my little sister, who I am extremely close with, for over 5 or 6 years. Oh. And, when your little sister is, 12, and you don't see her again until she's 18, not only is she completely different, completely changed, but, we lost so much time. And, but we're super tight, and the world brought us back together, and, we're back where we were. I mean, still got some, things to work out and things to brush out, but, big bro's back, and I got my little sister back, and that's what's important. And we just don't want to lose out on any more time. So that was probably the, getting kicked out was one thing, but, yeah, losing my sister for a while, that was, that's getting me choked up right now. But yeah, that was probably the biggest thing I had to overcome, and I'm very, very happy that she's back in my life, and get to talk to her again. So that's definitely it.
I can't imagine going through that experience. Like, it's just not something that.
And it's just completely random. Like, like my folks are separated, so are hers. So when I was with my dad, she was with her dad, and when I was with mom, she was with mom. And one time we just went to pick her up, and she just wasn't there. Oh. And it just, that was kind of it, and it still has negative effects on our family as a whole. But we got to work on one thing at a time. And so as long as her and I are tight, then I'll try to help fix everything else out. So.
It's very brave of you to be open to sharing that part of your story. Like, I appreciate you feeling comfortable enough to do that.
Like I said, this guilty pleasure of public speaking. What can I say? So,
yeah.
But no, that is, and I'm very blessed. I lived a very happy life. I lived a very good life. And I know that. But if there was one thing that I could ever change, I wouldn't be getting kicked out. That changed me for the better. What I would change is not losing my little sister for a little bit over half a decade. So
that's a long time.
It is,
and it's amazing that you were able to come back together and reconcile. And
well, and that's the thing. Like, it's when you're 12, you're a child, and you're very easily can be very easy. I don't want to say that word, but very easy manipulated. And you don't know, and I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have known either, and I don't blame her. But at the same time, I'm here to make sure that her and I are going to be, and the family, and we're all going to be better for it. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So, but that is definitely the biggest thing I've ever had to overcome, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, there's so many elements to that. Like, I mean, it's amazing that you have the outlook that you do, in a sense. Like, it's great that you don't. I think I always respect people that don't dwell on those things that have happened, but that, like, you appreciate where you are now, and that you appreciate those people and those, like, it's, I don't know, it's not dwelling on what's happened to the point of letting it deter from who you are and what you want to accomplish in things. So it's like, and it's a show of strength and honesty and authenticity and like all sorts of, I wish I had the exact right word to describe it, but it's all those things. And it's like those dark times often like lead us to who we are in a sense. And that's something that I've even gotten to realize a little bit more and like been confronted with a little bit lately. And so you talked about all those different aspects, like getting injured, getting kicked out, losing your sister for that time. Like those are all elements that have built towards who you are. And who that is somebody who can openly and authentically share that part of your story, which is also an amazing thing too. Because people, I think everybody goes through negative times or those dark times in life. I don't think people can live life without ever experiencing pain or loss in some sense.
But you learn the most out of them, right? Those are your biggest experience gaining portions of your life, I would say.
Absolutely.
And especially when you mentioned being kicked out, because that definitely vibed with me. That happened to me as well. And it's interesting because my mom and I are closer than we've ever been, and she was the one to say, "Okay, that's enough." But looking back, I see the reasons why she did it.
Totally.
And it made me the person who I am today. I wouldn't be where I am if she never did that.
Exactly. And no, that's what, like you said, exactly. Like I'm tighter with my mom than ever. And she was the one to let me know. So, but yeah, you know what? I'm a very positive outlooking person. Like I refuse to be negative. And if I'm negative, like that had to have been one heck of a day. So, cause you know, I again, being very lucky, I've been told I have a very nice smile. I like to wear it. It's my best accessory. So I'm just going to walk around, and it's a genuine one. And that's because I have a positive outlook. And I think one of my favorite quotes ever is from one of my old GMs when I was selling cars. And he says, "A bad day does not equal a bad life." And you're right. Everybody's going to have a bad day. Heck, people have bad weeks. You don't have to, lock yourself in your room. You don't gotta. People deal with things in different ways, but again, a bad day or a bad week does not equal a bad life. And you know what? Like, so what? Something happens. So what? You have to go public speak and you get embarrassed. So what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah. And I wish everybody had that train of thought. I know that's impossible, and but at the same time, you just think positive positive things happen.
Yeah, one of the more recent favorite sayings that I've come across, and I don't know who said it because I listened to it in audio form, so I'm not sure who the original, I guess, author or the creator of the quote is, but it goes something like, "You're allowed to have your bad days. You're allowed to fail. You're allowed to give up. You're allowed to go home. You're allowed to cry, but eventually you have to get over it and move on, and that's what makes you a better person."
And 100%, like, that is a great quote. We need to figure out who said that. That's
I know,
for sure.
right?
That's for sure.
There's definitely different elements of coming to terms with those things that happen, those potentially negative, or like those experiences that at the time that you feel are negative. Like, I went through ankle injuries 2 years in a row. The first time I went through ankle injuries, it was one of those times that football was the entirety of my life, and that was my focus. And it then I hit one of the darkest times, at least up to that point in my life. And I didn't have anything surrounding it. Like, I wasn't going to school, I wasn't working. So I spent months on the couch and just not doing, like, watching TV, it forced me to ask myself, like, it was basically telling me I needed to do something beyond just what I was doing. And I needed to grow as a person. And that led me to at least taking courses out of interest in school. And then from that, like, just building a life, getting a job outside of that too. So it's like, there is that element of that hope going through those dark times where it's like, you look at and that's the optimism. Like, even if you get an injury, like, maybe this can lead to something where it's like, it can have that impact. And then I got injured the next year, and it was like, there were so many other things. It didn't impact me as hard because I had a life that was just it was more full. It was more fulfilled. And so I'm thankful for that. Like, and honestly, all these experiences have made me me. So I can't.
The world has a weird way of, even if you don't want to move forward, of still pushing you forward. And again, like one thing that my mom always told me was everything happens for a reason.
My mom
So,
says the exact same thing
Our
all
moms
the
apparently
time.
should meet, Jayse.
We have the same
We're
mom?
going to be a rap group. Our moms are friends now. Sheesh. This is awesome.
J squared.
Correct. So, but yeah, so everything happens for a reason, and you know, she said the universe has a weird way of pushing you, even if you don't want to be pushed, because you know, if you're not doing something you shouldn't be doing, they'll find a way to get you what you should be doing. And whether you do it, whether you get forced to do it, whether you get kicked out, whether you know, lose a job, whatever it is, whether you get an ankle injury, you know, twice, everything happens for a reason. And like I said, like and Jason said it as well, is if we wouldn't have gotten the boot, you know, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. It's part of who we are, it's part of our story, and we're better for it. And I haven't seen somebody, you know, come out of a negative situation and then say like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Like, of course, you know, we want everything to be perfect and nice, but bad things are bound to happen every once in a while. So
Yeah. God. Sports. It's funny though that like sports and life, and there's just all this interconnectivity in everything. Like, and even bringing up the universe, it's like there's different levels to things and different levels to existence, and I certainly believe that we're a reflection of all those other things. We're a reflection of our Earth, and how could we not be? Because we evolved from it. I mean, there are different beliefs of how things have started and whatnot, but I mean, even if we are from that energy source, the universe, or a god, depending on what you want to call that, there's still that element of, well, we're here and there's an interconnectivity to that as well, whatever that like underlying energy or spirit is. And so we're the manifestation of that in a sense, whether it's, you look at the planet anyways, but it's so cool that we're here and we're able to interact and do all these different things and play sports. Like we've created something, play music, have meaningful conversations, be able to share. And it's funny because I think that humans are both gifted and cursed in a sense, because like we feel ourselves different than all these other things, or at least often do. Whereas I think there's the natural world, like animals seem to be in tune to each other, and even the way that this, I want to say Lion King, the circle of life, but like the way things are. Mm-hmm. And so they're more in tune to that, and they just naturally do those things. We don't know if there's consciousness involved of like, I mean, dolphins have really heavily, like, have brains that, what's the part of the brain that they have that's even more developed than...
I can't remember.
But anyways, I think it's the capacity to feel, but they can communicate with each other as well. And it's like...
Yeah, they have emotions, yeah.
It's so cool to just like, to reflect on that and to see that we have a place and we have an impact, whether it's like football can have that impact. It's had that impact on our lives. And I think that might be what, like, I don't want to speak for you, but that draws you towards football and being involved and even growing it as an opportunity for others to engage with and to grow themselves with. So I think it's awesome what you're doing and what the Football Collective is doing, and even what people are doing in football around this province, and even at large too. I know that there might be some skepticism about the NFL and even CFL, where like, you know, there's commissioners and there's so much money involved with it, and like, you know, like what's the best method forward, but they're trying things, they're changing, and they're letting it develop. And so it's great to see that, and it's great to see that there's so many different opportunities for people now. Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you. That's monologue.
Very well.
feel like Morgan Freeman or something. It's just like
You're just missing the really low voice. And
yeah, I wish I had a little more of the Morgan Freeman low voice, or maybe even your low radio voice.
I feel like you could probably do a Morgan Freeman if you really wanted to.
Oh boy, on the spot, hey? No, actually not that one. No, I'm trying to think.
Well, you got the big mouth, the hormone monsters or something.
Oh man, those are some good ones too. Oh man, I love that show. It's just so accurate with so many things when I'm thinking back to when I was a teenager. Good old Big Mouth.
It's cool. It's what you can do with cartoons and what you can do with TV and certain things is really unique because they're representing unseen forces as seen forces, and the influences that those have on characters. It's like, yeah, yell at your mom, you're angry. And
It's so true. Like oh man, it's almost kind of eerie how like when you look back and it's like, wow, like that a lot of that was going on.
Yeah.
And nope, it's I love shows that push the limits. And
That is definitely one of those shows.
And
yeah.
I was going to say that is definitely in the ballpark of pushing the limits. So
it's funny because I don't find it's pushing the limits in the sense that it's honest. It's just it's that brutal honesty that maybe people don't want to hear, or maybe
that's
offends
exactly-
them.
no, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the thing is like, so again, now we're talking TV, but my favorite show still to this day and always will be South Park. And the reason for that is because they're so creative at making people uncomfortable. And that's the whole point of good TV. Like that to me is what makes good TV is like, this is why somebody got elected president is, in my opinion, like, it's just, like people want to be, people want to see envelopes pushed, be entertained, things like that. And a lot of like you obviously for good reason, South Park has gone on a lot of trouble. And that's because people don't want to see, what they're seeing. And I know that there's definitely people that have complained about, oh, I thought that this was a cartoon, I'm letting my kid watch this. Well, technically your kid is going into hormones right away and maybe should, be introduced into a little bit of what's going to happen to him, because if you don't want to tell him, that's how he's going to find out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What else do we have to talk about? Is there?
oh boy. Well, like I said, if we're talking collective, then we're, we're getting started next week. So, and then our first set of indoor is going to be happening from there till Super Bowl Saturday. So our Super Bowl is that weekend, and then the Sunday is actually the championship. We don't take a break. We dive into it right again the very next weekend. So please, if you do, like I said, if you have any questions regarding yourself or potentially a team, reach out to us, Winnipeg Football Collective. That's going to be Twitter, Instagram, and then again, just Google us, Winnipeg Football Collective. We will be the first option, and everything you need to know is on the website. And hint, hint, nudge, nudge, a little bit of secrecy, but I'll give you an inside scoop that we are planning on launching a brand new website, which is going to be a game changer.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and I can't. Other than that, I can't say too much because there might be some competition listening to me. So I don't want to give any inside scoops. But yeah, it's gonna be sweet, and it's gonna be again game changing. So
Yeah.
and we'll definitely be if you we already are, because I made sure to be following you guys on Instagram. So once you guys post it up, I'll be reposting it so people can get a little bit extra attention and get everybody over here to listen. And hopefully they listen and they come find me at the U of W and have a nice chat with me about some football or life or whatever. Heck, an interview, whatever they want to do. So,
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, they can't see my face, but I'm very approachable. You can just find me at the Collective pretty much both days, Friday and Saturday, either reffing, playing, or being a supervisor. So it's a lot of fun, and I invite you, even if you're just interested and you want to come down and check out a game just to see what it's like, I would do that too. We've got some great seats, nice and warm, and they've got some sweet grub there too. So.
Wherever you're watching or listening, you can subscribe to YouTube or any other place that you may be listening to this. Our email, as always, if you have anything for us, whether it's content, guests, or even ideas for it, is info@bethechangeYPS.com. Don't believe there's any announcements. sauce a follow on Facebook and Instagram. It's the same, Be the Change YPS. And beyond that, try some football out. See if you like it. You know?
Hey, try some football.
But did you have any other closing thoughts or anything?
No, just like I said, thank you guys so much for having us on. If again, the boys and I appreciate you giving us a platform to help us grow it even more. Again, I will also, although I've plugged the collectives, there is also the for parents of younger children, the Collective Sevens is where you would need to go. It's a little bit different. It is the youth program, as well as you can follow Finish First Football, Manitoba Selects. That's all run by Keto Povla, and he's part of the collective crew, and he'd be more than happy to get your guys up and running too. If anybody wants to reach out to me personally, I was going to say my own Twitter and Instagram is extraordinary91. It's the only thing better than extraordinary is extraordinary. So. But yeah, I've had people message me on there too and ask me questions about the league. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me or if you want to reach out to the league, we'd be more than happy to help out and sit down and phone call, email, texting, whatever you want to do. We just want to get everybody playing football. So,
But thank you for viewing and listening.
Thank you,
Take
JJ.
care.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, JJ.
See ya.